Hi, everybody. How are you today? So, we're going to be talking about chapter 11, which is all about managing foreign, national, managing, and multinational teams. I'm going to be sharing with you some PowerPoints. We're going to talk about chapter 11 when it comes to the entry and expansion. Learning objectives here to learn how firms gradually progress through the internalization process, to understand the strategic effects of internalization, to study the various modes of entering multinational markets, to understand the role of functions in the international intermediaries, to learn about opportunities and challenge of corporate market development. International management. Successful international managers tend to be active, be aggressive, display a high degree of international orientation. Managerial commitment is critical. Foreign market penetration requires a vast amount of market development activity, sensitivity toward foreign environments, research, and innovation. The steps to developing international commitment: become aware of international business opportunities, determine the degree of firms' internalization, decide the timing of when to start the internalization progress and how quickly it should progress. Motivations for going international: proactive motivations, profit advantage, unique products, technical advantage, exclusive information, tax benefit, economies of scale. Reactive motivations: competitive pressures, overproduction, declining domestic sales, excessive capacity, saturated domestic markets, and proximity to customers and ports. Psychological distance. Sometimes cultural variables, legal factors, and other societal norms make a foreign market that geographically close to physically distant. The two major issues of psychological distance are some distance seen by firms is based on perception rather than reality. Closer psychological proximity makes it easier for firms to enter markets. Profit risk during early internalization. In the short term, firms may experience increased risk and decreasing profits when going international. Profit and risk, market gap, international experience. The keys to successful international performance: efficiency, effectiveness, and competitive strength. International entry strategies: exporting, importing, licensing, franchising, inter-firm cooperation, and foreign direct investment. Exporting and importing. Firms can export and import using two methods. Indirect involvement means the firm participates in international business through an intermediary and does not deal with foreign customers or market. Direct involvement means a firm works with foreign customers or markets with opportunity to develop a relationship. Firms decide on the desired method by implementing transaction cost theory. International intermediaries. Importer-exporters often use international intermediaries who provide assistance in documentation, financing, transportation, identification of foreign suppliers, trading companies, providing business contacts. Export management companies. Firms that specialize in performing international business services for other companies are known as export management companies, EMCs. The two primary roles at EMCs are agents and distributors. Trading companies. Trading companies help firms by importing, exporting, counter trading, investing, and manufacturing. The Soga Shosa of Japan is the most wonderful trading companies in the world for 4 reasons. They efficiently gather, evaluate, and translate market information to business opportunities, economies of scale, given them preferential treatment. They operate around the world, not just in Japan, and they have vast quantities of capital. And the U.S. export trading company legislation is designed to improve the export performance of small and medium-sized firms. Facilitators. Facilitators and entities outside the firm that assist in progress of going international by supplying knowledge and information. Private sector facilities include banks, accounting firms, consulting firms. Public sector facilitators include departments of commerce, export-import banks, and educational institutions. Licensing. Under a licensing agreement, one firm permits another to use intellectual property for compensation, design, and royalty. Property and license may include patents, trademarks, copyrights, technology, technical know-how, and specific business skills. Benefits and costs of licensing. Benefits requires either capital investment nor detailed involvement with foreign customers. It capitalizes on research and development already conducted. It helps avoid host country regulations applicable to entity ventures. Cost is very limited form of foreign market participation. It does not guarantee a basis of future expansion, and the licensor may create its own competitor. Franchising. Franchising is the granting of the right by a patent company of another dependent entity to do business in a prescribed manner. The major forms of franchising are manufacturer, retailer, systems like car dealerships, manufacturer, wholesaler systems like soft drinks companies, service firm retailer companies like fast food outlets. To be successful, the firm must offer unique products or propositions and a high degree of standardization. 3 reasons for franchising: financial gain, market potential, and saturated domestic markets. Inter-firm cooperation. A strategic alliance is arrangement between two or more companies with the common business objective. To better compete, many companies form strategic alliances with suppliers, customers, competitors, and companies in other industries to achieve goals. Reasons for inter-firm cooperation include market development, to share risk or resources, to block and co-opt competitors. Types of inter-firm competition. We have equity, number of partners, 2, more than 2. Informal cooperation, no binding agreement, a contractual agreement, joint venture, consortia, and equity participation. Contractual agreements. Strategic alliance partners may join forces for R&D, marketing, production, licensing, cross-licensing, cross-market activities, or outsourcing. Contract manufacturing allows for the corporation to separate the physical production of goods from the R&D and marketing stages. Management contracts include selling one's expertise in running a company while avoiding the risk of benefit of ownership. A turnkey operation is a contractual agreement that permits a client to acquire a complete system of following the competition. Equity participation. Some companies have acquired minority ownerships in companies that have strategic importance for them. Reasons for engaging in equity participation include: it ensures supplier ability, it builds working relationships, it creates market entry, and support global operations. Joint ventures. A joint venture involves participation of 2 or more companies in the expertise of which party contributes assets, has some equity, and shares the risk. The 3 reasons for establishing a joint venture are government policy or legislation, one partner's need for another partner's skills, one partner's need for another partner's attributes or assets. The key of a joint venture is sharing of common business objective. Consortia. To combat the high cost and risk of research and development, research consortia has emerged with the United States, Japan, and Europe. The Joint Research and Development Act of 1984 allows domestic and foreign firms to participate in joint basic research efforts without the fear of antitrust action. Since the act passed, over 100 consortia has been registered in the United States. Managerial considerations. Issues to address before the information of a venture include clear definition of venture and duration, ownership, control, management, financial structure and policies, taxation and physical application, employment, training, production, government assistance, transfer of technology, marketing arrangements, environmental protection, record keeping, and inspection and settlement of disputes. Full ownership. For some firms, foreign direct investment requires full ownership. Reasons include an ethnocentric approach, financial concerns. In order to make rational decisions about the extent of ownership, management must evaluate the extent in which total control is important for the success of the international marketing activities. Increasingly, the international environment is hostile to full ownership of multinational firms. International market entry and market and development model, multinational focus and domestic focus, alternative strategies, trading, exporting, import, licensing, franchising, local presence, alliances, and full ownership. Level of management commitment, aware, interested, trial, evaluation, adoption. Motivations, proactive, reactive, interdisciplinaries, EMC, trading co, and facilitators. Concerns is information, mechanics, communication, sales effort, service, and regulations. Before we go on to the next one, I want to remind you that you do have a midterm that's due. So let me hold on a brief second. Let me go to our classroom. Here's our midterm questions. I assigned it. Here they are. If you want to download it, I have a downloadable form right here. You can download it on the Word and just answer the questions there, or here are the questions here. There's only 20 questions for you to answer. Answer them the best you can. You can use your book. You can use online notes. You can just use your mind. Like number 1 says, what is the foreign direct investment, FDI? Number 2, what questions to ask for international business? Number 3, what's the fundamental question in international business? Number 4, what's the reason for international business discuss? 5, what is the international business? What are the key concepts of international business? What are the challenges of international business? What are 4 factors of international business? Why should a foreign marketer be concerned with the study of culture? What is the importance of culture empathy in the foreign markets? How does she acquire cultural empathy? Explain what determines the level of economic development in a nation. Identify the micro, political, and macroeconomic changes occurring worldwide. Describe how transition economies are moving for the market-based systems. Explain the implications for our management practice of national differences in political economy. What is free trade? Yes or no? In what ways does the size of customers' business affect the business behavior? What's the potential cost of adopting free trade regime? Do you think government should do anything to reduce the cost? What's the relationship between corruption and a company and country? Bribe-taking government? What's the difference between national and international businesses? How do rules and regulations vary between different countries? Okay, so that's your homework, the midterm questions. It's 20 questions. It's worth 100 points, so it's like 5 points per question. Now back to chapter 11, PowerPoints. So learning objectives here. To examine the idea of industry structure, firm strategy, and value creation. The profile of features, functions, the value of the chain framework. And to appreciate how managers configure and coordinate the value chain. To identify the dimensions that shape how managers develop strategy. To profile the types of strategies from used to international business. Introduction, external influences, industry structure and drives, competitive dynamics, economic conditions, political, legal, and regulatory environment, technology standards and trends, cultural orientations, and customer expectations. And that's all connected to management vision, strategy, value creation, and firm performance. theoretical terms, the forms make up the environment of international business. In applied terms, they represent the system outside the international firms. And they boost the profitability. Strategy is a framework that managers apply to determine the competitive moves and business approaches that run the company. The chapter will help you identify the environmental factors that influence managers' strategic analysis, the concept that anchor managers' evaluation strategy, the tool that support their strategic choices, process that managers use to ultimately convert their analysis into strategies to create superior value in international markets. Yeah, strategy is the management's idea how to best attract customers, stake out market position, conduct operations, compete effectively, and achieve goals and create value. Industry strategy and firm performance. Some fundamental features of strategic management, specifically ideas of relationships among industry, strategy, and firm performance will be looked into. In general, the forms of the M&E's environment that have routinely have the greatest impacts of strategy are in its immediate industry and competitive industry. BMW worries how trends in the interest rates, change in political leadership, and innovations in communication strategies will affect the profitability, but BMW's is far more sensitive because it directly affects the competitive position and profit performance. The actions of fellow industry like Toyota, Goodyear, and Bosch. Perfect competition. Many buyers and sellers, such as no individual efforts, price, or quantities. Perfect information for both producers and consumers. Few, if any, barriers to the market entry and exit. Full mobility of resources. Model of strategy O model. Developed in the industry organization paradigm. Presumes that the marketers are perfectly competitive. It reports the risk adjustment rate of the return to be consistent across firms and industries effectively. Over time, no one firm or industry should consistently outperform others. In the long run, the firms will attract new firms, enter the market freely, creating more competition that lowers prices and lowers the firm's profits. The model holds the performance which the firm is function of the market conduct is to determine the structure of the industry, supported by researchers. Within theoretical context of perfect competition, the performance of any firm is largely determined by the industry characteristics. Constraints on the O model. Many industries exhibited in perfect competition. Studies have identified that many firms were outstanding performers in the industry. Dell in computers, Toyota automobiles. Bright managers find ways to create value that are no easily matched or copied by rivals. Industry's structure is not necessarily deterministic of firm performances. Firm performance was influenced by the presence of bright, motivated managers and their keen sense of developing innovative products for new and existing markets. Great managers who develop better strategies and build better companies outperform their counterparts. Outcomes in the strategic management research, two important relationships. Although competition may be necessarily perfect, industry structure directly influences a company's performance. The reality is that competition may not necessarily creates potential for a company to convert an innovative strategy to superior competitiveness. Idea of structure, industry structure. Industry structure is an explanation of functions, form, and interrelationships among suppliers of inputs and buyers of outputs, substitute products, potential new entrants, and rivalry among competing sellers. The model develops a picture of the structure and competition in industry that prepares managers to figure out what fundamental forces shape strategic conduct, how strong each force is, what forces are driving changes in the industry, what strategic moves rivals are likely to make next, and what the key factors are for future competitive success. The assessment of the industry structure provides the basis for estimating the kinds of strategic moves that companies in the industry are likely to use. The idea of industry structure continued. A global industry is one of the firm's competitive position in a country significantly affected by the position of other countries. Globalization in the financial service industry demonstrates the intercompetitiveness power of the five-force model. This evolution means the firm's competitive advantage depends on how well it is to achieve economies of scale and economies to scope across the countries. These developments have prompted companies to change the way they compete. Citibank prospered, Deutsche Bank scrambled. The growing profits of the global financial service industry attracts many new entrants. Launched the new strategies and products have changed the competition. Emerged a new market in Asia and Central Europe, brought many buyers and suppliers of all sorts of financial products and changed the competition in the industry. Growing number of options in search of the best deal. These forces have changed the structure of the global financial industry, and the process changed the potential for profitability for industry members. Potential entrants, bargaining power of suppliers, threat of new entrants, suppliers, industry competitors, rivalry among existing firms, buyers, bargaining power of buyers, threat of substitute products and services. Industry change. The structure of industries is continually in flux. New products, new firms, new markets, new managers trigger new developments in rivalry pricing, substitutes buyers and suppliers. These developments change minor feature of industry. Hence, the industry members have option of continuing to operate as they had. At the time, the managers must identify the forces of particular change, estimate the impact it may have on their industry and company, and determine the effective response. The types of forces that can transform an industry structure include changes in long-term industry growth rate, new technologies, new consumer buying and the usage patterns, the division of businesses, change in government regulations, and the entry or exit of major firms. While many forces change may be played to the given industry, generally no more than a few command of the power to reset the basic structure. Manager's task is to create major factors like minor ones and the best position in the firm to compete and create value is likely new industry. Strategy and value. There are thousands of views and standards of the great strategy. A great strategy defines perspective and tool managers use to praise the company's present situation, identifies direction to company they should go, determine how the company will get there, and ultimately which reference the fundamental principle, strategy, the value. Value can be determined in various ways. Oops. Value can be determined in various ways, but for the purpose, the value can be defined as a measure of the firm's capability to sell what makes more than the cost incurred to make it. Therefore, the strategy is the efforts managers to build and strengthen the company's competitive position within the industry or to create value. Value is what's left after all expenses have been deducted from the revenues of the firm. Low-cost leadership emphasizes high production values, low costs, and low prices to attract customers. Companies create either by making their products for lower cost than any other firms in their industry or making their products that customers are willing to pay a premium and price for. Firms that choose this strategy strive to be the low-cost producer in the industry for a given level of quantity. It pushes the firm to sell the products either at average industry prices to earn profit higher of those rivals or below the average industry prices to capture market share. A cost leadership strategy is key advantage in highly competitive industries. In the event of the price war, the cost leader then cut the prices, thereby imposing intolerable losses in the competitors, yet still earning some profits. Cost leadership strategy usually targets a broad market. Chinese companies are using the approach to create value. Differentiation spurs company to provide unique good or service that the rivals find hard, if not possible, match or copy. Firms choose a strategy to aspire to develop products or offer unique attributes. The value added to uniqueness of the product allows the firms to charge higher price. SAP, Rolex create a value via distribution strategy. Companies that engage in differentiation strategy must continually find ways to develop products that have unique features that, in turn, lead buyers to prefer their goods and services versus those provided by rivals. Valuation creation potential for strategy ultimately is a function of a amount of the value and actual perceived that customers attribute to products and the cost the firms incurs to be making it. For both the low-cost leadership or differentiation strategies, the firm earns higher profits than the rivals when it creates more value than the customers is able to charge a price that rewards it. Firm as the value chain. Value chain is set interlinked value creating activities the company perform to design, produce, market, deliver, and support product. Represents a framework that lets managers deconstruct the general idea, create value into a series of discrete activities that their company actually does not to create value. Value chain analysis helps the managers. Value chain framework. There you go. You have primary activities, purchase supplies, and inbound logistics, operations, distribution, and outbound logistics, sales and marketing, service, product, profit margin, procurement, technology systems develop, human resource management, firm infrastructure. Continued. Technically, a value chain has 4 organizing dimensions: primary activities, support activities, profit margin, orientation, upstream, downstream. Primary activities involved in the physical movement of raw materials, finished goods and services, and the marketing, sales, and subsequent services and the outputs of the business. Inbound logistics, receiving, warehousing, inventory control. And operations, processes that inform output into the finished product. Outbound logistics, moving finished product to supply chain and wholesalers, retailers, and final customer. Marketing and sales, getting buyers to buy the product by using the marketing mix and advertising. Services, customer support in the terms of installation, after sales service, complaints handling, training, and so on. Support activities make up the managerial infrastructure of the firm that supports carrying out primary activities, purchase of raw materials, components, and others inputs used in the creation of value chain. Technologically and system development, R&D, process automation, telecom and wireless systems, and other technology used to support value activities. Recruiting, development, compensation, retaining employees, as well as labor relation activities. Firm infrastructure, activities related to general management, accounting and finance, legal and regulatory affairs, safety, security, MIS, and other overhead functions. Profit margin, process of value chain is to show how a firm creates value. Profit margin, total revenue generated by sales equals total cost activities. Orientation, final element of the value chain is orientation, mainly whether a particular activity creates place upstream or downstream. Upstream activities like inbound logistics, R&D, and manufacturing gather process inputs the company uses to make a product. Downstream activities like outbound logistics, marketing, service, and deal directly with end customers. Using value chain helps managers integrate the knowledge and the skills of employees around the world in a way that lets them the best leverage of the company's global reach. Value chain analysis anchors and guides managers' effect to build expertise in those value activities that are critical to reducing costs and improving differentiation. Value chains identify the format and interactions between different activities in the company. Oh, it's break time. Okay, it's time for a 10-minute break. All right. So back to the global market. The benefits of the global market, the growth of the international capital market, macroeconomic skills associated with the growth, important segments of the market, Euro currency market, international bond market, international equity market. Functions of generic capital market brings together those who want to invest and who want to borrow. Invest. Firms with surplus cash, individuals, non-bank financial institutions borrow, individuals, companies, and governments. Market makers, financial service companies that connect investors and borrowers either directly or indirectly. Main players in the generic capital market. Investors, companies, individuals, institutions, borrowers, individuals, companies. Market makers, commercial bankers, investment bankers. Benefits both borrowers and investors. Borrowers increases the money supply, lowers the cost of capital. Investors provides a wide range of investment opportunity, diversifies investor risk, market liquidity, and the cost of capital. Movements of stock prices across countries are not perfectly correlated. Reflects two factors. Countries pursue different macroeconomic policies and face different and increased acceptance in a free market concept, dismantling the national capital controls, less restrictions on inward-outward capital flows. Nations are more valuable with speculative capital flows, potential destabilization of economies, capital pursuing short-term gains, hot money, patient money, Martin Feinstein, lack of quality information. Investors react too quickly to new events, differentiating accounting conventions. Index to capital controls, emerging markets. A euro currency is a currency banked outside its country of origin. It's not a euro. Euro dollars or dollars banked outside the United States. 1950s, Eastern Europeans fearing U.S. seizure on their dollars to reimburse U.S. citizens for properly expropriated by their governments and deposited them to foreign banks, mostly in London. Other events, Britain 1957, U.S. 1960. Failure of Bretton Woods, oil crisis, 1970s, gave opportunity to those who wanted to deposit or borrow the dollar, later other currencies as well. Interest rate spreads in domestic and euro currency markets. Attraction, lack of government regulation, higher pay interest rates, charge lower rates, reverse restrictions are less costly, drawbacks, profitability of bank failure, low foreign exchange rates. The fixed rate, two types, foreign, sold outside borrower's country, demonstrated by the currency of the country where issued, desire to lower cost of capital, euro bonds, underwritten by banks, syndicate and placed in the countries other than the ones with the currency, bonds denominated, issued by multinational corporations, large domestic corporations, international institutions not offered by a capital market, and residents of the country whose currency are not demonstrated. Attraction, the absence of regulatory interference, less stringent disclosure requirements than domestic bond markets, favorable tax status. No equity market is the sense of international currency and bond markets. Countries have their own markets to trade corporate stocks, many open to foreign. Two trends, internationalization of corporate ownership. Companies broaden stock ownership by listing stock on foreign exchanges. Tap into larger pool of funds for investment, lowering capital cost. Facilitating the future acquisitions, and stock options for local employees, suppliers, and bankers, increasing firms from developing countries, taking advantage of opportunities to access these funds, and foreign exchange risk and cost of capital, unpredictable movements in the rates, increased cost of currency. Foreign exchange market provides some hedge. Implications for business, global markets provide opportunities for firms wishing to borrow and invest money, lower cost, FX risk, diversify investments, and perhaps emergence of united capital market in the EU. Value chain configuration. Configuration is the way that managers arrange the activities in a value chain. Every M&E, or small or large, looks to establish elements of the value chain and the best spots in the world. The key, Calvert, for location dimensions is the notion that configuration should be optimized given prevailing economic, legal, political, and natural conditions. Continued. Several conditions shape how managers configure value chains around the world. There are cost factors, business environments, cluster effects, logistics, economies of scale, and buyers' needs. Cost factors. Cost factors in countries directly shape where international companies choose to locate value activities. Manufacturing costs vary from country to country due to the wage rates, work productivity, resource availability, fiscal and monetary policies. Examples: labor costs, China versus US in 2003, average hourly compensation, including benefits for production workers, 80 cents versus 25.50. But where companies locate upstream activities like sourcing and manufacturing of the value chain in China and downstream activities of the value chain like marketing and service. Cluster effects, a particularly of value creation and a cluster effect, in which particular industry gradually clusters more and more related value creation effects in the specific location. Example, Wall Street is a center for global finance, Baden-Württemberg, cars and electric engineering, Silicon Valley, technology, Hollywood, mass media, Mumbai, business process outsourcing, outgoing, logistics. Logistics, how companies obtain, produce, and exchange material and services in proper place and proper quantities for proper value activity. Economies of scale, the residuals of the unit cost achieved by producing a large volume of the product. Economies of scale occur with industries with a high capital cost in which the cost can be distributed across large number of production, thereby resulting in lower per unit cost. Buyer needs. I don't know what's going on with this. Core competency, outlook, skill, capability, technology that creates a unique value of the firm by creating. Core competency, Walmart, sophisticated information management and product distribution systems. You have 3 M's. Legacy of product innovation. Intel's design for complex semiconductors. MBNA's customer orientation. Honda's expertise and the engine technology management. Procter & Gamble. You have core competency can emerge from various factors: product development, employee productivity, manufacturing expertise, market imagination, leadership. Factors influencing the value chain, operational obsolete, national cultures, learning effects. Operational objectives. The M&Es regularly run into a problem when trying to get the various links to global chain to deal with others, communication challenges like language, miscommunication, or currency measurement systems like metrical versus decimal. National cultures, the globalization of the culture's value chain presses the managers to understand how foreign cultures influence coordination. National cultures can impose higher hurdles in coordinating a transaction from one stage of the value chain to another. Learning effects. Learning effects refer to the cost savings that follow from learning by doing an activity. The matter of learning shapes how both manufacturers and service M&Es coordinate value chains. Subsidiaries set works. Current culmination of globalization trends with the world, marked by real-time connectivity among the subsidiaries of M&Es. Skills, ideas, technologies can be created anywhere within the M&E's global network of subsidiaries. Vital task of managers coordinate the company's value chain so it can leverage the competencies developed within any subsidy and apply them whether they can create value with the firm's global network. Value chains. Once built, a firm's value chain is not fixed in stone. The features and functions of products that consumers judge most critical change over time. The basis of value creation in industry evolves. The configuration and coordination of firms' value chain should reflect the changes in the basis for the value creation, including customers' own needs, competitors, industries, and environments. Global integration. Reverse local responsiveness. The symmetry between global and local pressures puts contradictory demand and how firm configures and coordinates both value chain. Companies that operate internationally face two as citrus forces, pressures on the global integration and pressures for local responsiveness. That is, it should be standard of all activities and value chain to achieve economies of scale, or it should be customized all local activities to particular demands of the country. Pressures for global integration. Globalization of business is growing. Presently, global markets produce and consume more than 20% of the world output and 80% in 2025. Global market products are in chemicals, credit card, financial services, accounting, food, healthcare, mass media, forest products, information technology, automobiles, telecommunication, etc. Two pressures for global integration are the globalization of markets and efficiency gains of standardization. Globalization of markets, increasingly supported by the global buying patterns and company strategies, suggest that consumers seek and accept standardized global products. Two conditions compel the globalization of markets. The intrinsic function of money is hard to acquire, difficult to save, and always in scarce supply. Seek to maximize the purchasing power, buying the highest quantity good for the lowest possible price. The efficiency gains of standardization. Worldwide standardization of M&E's products, purchase methods, and policies can significantly reduce the cost of operations. The company can also realize economies in other value activities, R&D, advertising, etc. Standardization pressures have steadily increased as more countries have joined the global economy in general and the WTO in particular. Acceptance of a uniform code of international trade regulations. These new entrants escalate cost pressure in industry by what compels companies to minimize their costs by standardizing components of their value chain via global integration. Pressures for local responsiveness. International competencies face several pressures and issues to tailor their local market condition. Their influence of external environment in government influence on trade, regional economic integration, product standards, financial regulations, distribution channels, and human resources, etc. Need to be emphasized to tow regular pressures for local responsiveness, consumer divergence, and host government policies. Consumer divergence, fundamental divergence is customer taste and preference across countries have and will continue to exert strong pressure for local responsiveness. Consumers prefer goods that are sensitive to their way of life. Cross-national divergence presses international companies to side with the local responsiveness, doing such things as designing and making a product, adopting marketing practices, using marketing practices, and adapting to local. There's also great vulnerability of political, legal, economic situations and markets around the world and sources of many of these variations for policies sometimes. The lack thereof mandated host country governments. Privatization, economic freedom, legal informality, etc. The international company moves from country to country. These expectations typically push from one determination on how to best configure and coordinate its value chain so that it provides the necessary degree of local responsiveness without jeopardizing its capacity to create value, like in pharmaceutical industry. Interaction. The interaction of the pressures of global integration and pressures of local responsiveness in terms of how they gear for the M&Es is expressed in the integration responsiveness grid. There's integration responsiveness grid and industry types. Strategy types: multinational strategy, multi-domestic strategy, global strategy, transnational strategy. Why are strategy types important? Well, multinational enterprises with M&Es look at international markets for growth opportunities, cost reductions, risk diversification, aim of satisfying and completing demands of global integration and local responsiveness, deciding how to run their operations to meet the organizational goals. Global views the world as a single market, tightly controls global operations from headquarters to perceive, focus on standardization. Multinational, flexible value chain, enables local responsiveness, complex coordination mechanisms, enable global integration. International, use existing core competence to exploit opportunities in foreign markets. Multi-domestic, foreign interdisciplinaries operate autonomous units to customize products and processes to local market needs. Integration responsive grid identifies. General conditions shape the decision of when to use a strategy. These strategies differ in terms of where the managers put value activities and how they try to run them. Characteristics of international strategy. Leverages a company's core competencies in foreign market. It relies on local subsidiaries in each country to administer business as instructed by headquarters. Though some subsidiaries may have freedom to adapt product to local conditions, as well as to set up some light assembly operations and promotion programs. Yahoo develops the core architecture underlying its web products in San Jose, California headquarters, allows national subsidiaries to customize minor aspects of the web pages to deal with local differences in language and alphabet. The strategy greatly facilitates the transfer of skills, expertise, and products from patent or parent company to the subsidiaries. Hence, it tries to create value by transferring core competencies and unique products to those foreign markets where rivals are unable to develop, match, or sustain them. Enables headquarters to translate their control over and expertise in important activities into powerful positions to command foreign operations to follow their lead. International strategy creates moderate operational costs and enables great amounts of profits. If a firm has core competence, then local competitors and markets lack, and if industry conditions do not push the firm to improve its cost controls or local responsiveness. The headquarters ethnocentric orientation. One way to view home office is the rest of the world can lead to missed market opportunities. The realization among foreign operators that the international activity is secondary to whatever happens in the home market. Thus, this hinders identifying and responding to local conditions. It's costly when other companies emphasize customizing their goods and services to local conditions. Like Carrefour in the US tried shifting the strategy to better deal with local tastes and preferences, but eventually proved too costly and the company closed the US operations. Uh, Characterizing multi-domestic strategy, locally responsive strategy, adjust the products, services, and business practices to meet the needs of individual countries and regions. Strategy allows for each foreign country operations to act fairly independently. Johnson Johnson differentiates products and services to meet different local demands, customer preferences, local culture, and adapts policies to conform different governmental, legal, political, and market demands. Economic environment, decentralized decision making, local executives have authority to manage their responsibilities. Management believe in responding to the unique conditions prevailing in the different markets. Polycentric point of view, people who are close to the market ought to run the business. Managers in the backpack factory in Singapore have the right to decide what sort of backpack they want. Even the size, shape, and style differ from those made in the USA. Benefits of multi-domestic strategy. Very useful in the face of high demand for local responsiveness and low need to reduce the cost via global integration. Other benefits include minimized political risk, given the local standing of the company, reduced exchange rate, given the low need to repatriate funds in the home office, greater prestige given in its national programs, higher potential for innovative products and local R&D, and higher growth potential due to the entrepreneurial spirit. R&D unit, a Japanese subsidiary of Procter & Gamble, which responds to the low shortage space situation in the typical Japanese home, invented technology that reduced the thickness of an infant diaper without any loss of absorbency. The innovation created immense value for P&G in Japan and other P&G worldwide. Distributing the decision-making responsibility and value activities to local subsidiaries imposes high cost. This strategy leads to widespread duplication of management, design, production, and marketing activities. So each local subsidiary must build the necessary value chain operations to meet local demands. Hence, the strategy is economically impossible in industries that have intense cost pressures. Decentralization control of value activities to local decision makers can create usually powerful subsidiaries that tend to have autonomous units. They may opt not to follow headquarters policy, instead maintaining that does not work with their situation and that it must be extensively adjusted to fit their local market. Headquarters has to persuade the subsidiary the power in lieu of direct command to effect change. It's very costly. Johnson Johnson launched Tylenol in 1960 as an over-the-counter pain reliever in the U.S. Although it was available in local operating units shortly thereafter, the Japanese unit did not begin selling until 2000. Characteristics of global strategy. Global strategy champions worldwide consistently in standardization. It chooses to respond directly pressure the maximize integration, pushes companies to think in terms of creating products for world market, one market, manufacturing them to market scale, view highly efficient plants, and marketing through a few focused distribution channels. Computer parts manufactured on various countries, assembled at one country, companies to the world market, and assume there is either no differences among countries with regard to customer service taste or preferences. And if there are, then the customer will sacrifice them, give an opportunity to buy comparatively higher quality products for lower price. Faces strong pressures for cost reductions, but weak pressure for local responsiveness. A fully optimized value chain conceivably will locate each activity, R&D, production, marketing, etc. in the best possible place. Most favorable locations is enhances the effectively of the global strategy. Formal leakages coordinate dispersed activities of value chain. Executives at the centralized world headquarters who are responsible for standardizing the practices and processes of the company monitor the value chain activities. Limitations, cost sensitivity. Globalization strategy doesn't give any NEs any freedom to customize their products or systems to local conditions. Instead, local firms strive to make, market, and uh, service the standardized product worldwide. It lets them convert global efficiency into price competitiveness and value creation. Customizing a product or process to a particular market situations increases costs at each stage of the value chain. Different material for different product design has to adjust marketing programs, needs new distribution channels, etc. Globalization strategy enables a one-time transaction that exploits a worldwide distribution network, standardized financial controls, and universal message. Lucasfilm released a Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones on the day in 9 countries and a day later in another large group of countries. The movie had the third highest opening weekend of value in the movie history. The strategy simultaneously exploits the location economies, leverages influence core competencies, and pays attention to local responsiveness, is the most direct response to the growing globalization of business. The M&Es applied to transactional strategy differentiates capabilities and contributions from country to country, finding ways to systematically learn from the various environments, and then ultimately integrating and diffusing the knowledge throughout the global operations, which enables global learning and knowledge sharing in companies. Rather than top-down, headquarters and foreign subsidy or bottom-up, foreign subsidy and headquarters flow of ideas, transactional strategy flow from ideas generator to idea adopters, no matter where the other happens to be. Transferring capabilities, resources, and strengths among borders contributes to developing more powerful core competencies. The global learning activity capability helps M&Es develop international capabilities that can respond to the multitude of ways changing environments, to leverage international resources with external networks of other companies, and to integrate subsidiaries without imposing more bureaucracy. Transactional strategy aims at the relentless renewal, enhancement, and exchange of ideas across the basis of value creation. General Electric made ideas constantly renewed, enhanced, and exchanged within an expanding context of globalization, the basis of value creation. Thus, it claims that better ideas, better designs, better production, methods, etc., no matter what in the world, one activity, look in place and makes more profitable decisions. Also, integration happens more effectively and responsively and regular the General Electrics as knowledge flow from one manager another part of value chain to counterparts of far-flung parts of the economy. Limitations difficult to build possess serious change challenges, especially in coordinating value activities and prone to shortfalls. For every General Electric, there are many Philips, Manusautas, Nokia, and Acers that fell short supplying transactional strategy. Which sort of firm should adopt the strategy? Well, a firm which faces high pressures for cost reduction, high pressures for local responsiveness, and where there are opportunities to leverage core competencies extensively throughout the company's global network. All right, that concludes today. Don't forget to do your exam. Bye, everybody. Have a good day. See you next time.